Hello Flosstube and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie and this is my channel about cross stitch and my other needle arts. It has been about 2 weeks since I did my channel reboot and posted a WIP parade. If you were present for that video and you enjoyed it, I am so happy. It is wonderful to be filming again, and as promised, today's video is going to be a little bit of a catch up on where I've been, what's been going on with us, and then I'm going to show you the projects that I have worked on in 2025 so far. So if you watched the WIP parade, you saw a lot of projects, but they are things that I haven't touched in 2025. So most everything here should be brand new from that video. I think there were a couple that I forgot I had done in 2025 and accidentally put into that WIP parade. The other thing is that I do know I'm missing some projects. As I looked towards plans for spring and things I wanted to do, I discovered that, I'm still have a lot of things lost in the move. So, but as a quick recap of my life for the last year or so, excuse me, I'd like to share with you what I've been up to for the last year or so. If you were following me in the past, you may remember that I started to have severe, debilitating lower spinal pain and eventually lost the ability to walk. And I didn't walk for probably 7 or 8 months. I underwent a couple of exploratory procedures to try to determine why I couldn't walk. And I mostly couldn't walk because of the pain. I could force myself to hobble around, but I was suffering extreme pain a lot. And during that period of time, I really did not stitch very much. Eventually, I kind of worked out what I thought would work for me with a lot of PT and neuromuscular massage and everything, and I'm very happy to say that I am just fine. I have no more issues with it. I think some of the contributing factors to that situation were like just regular stress, life stress, and also sitting and stitching a lot. So I've spent a lot of time since then doing a lot more of my other activities that I love that are out and about, like hiking and traveling, to kind of make sure that I'm still using my body as much as I should be for my age. So I feel amazing. So after I regained the ability to walk, my husband and I traveled. I always wanted to swim with the dolphins, and so he took me down to Atlantis, and I had an amazing day swimming with the dolphins. That's an incredible experience. If it's anything that anyone out there has dreamed about, it was that those sort of encounters, dolphin encounters, didn't really exist when we were kids. They kind of came out, when I was in my early 20s and starting a family. Those sort of like ability for the public to swim with dolphins was just kind of coming in as a thing. So my husband knew that I always wanted to do that. So he took me there, and it was amazing. If I can figure out how to get those pictures off of my Google Photos and put them into the film, I will do so. So I did. I was able to attend StitchCon last summer because I was walking again. And in the fall, our daughter got engaged, which we're very happy about. We moved her to another state, and she is settled in there pretty well. She moved because her fiance already has a business established in another state, so she left Florida. And my other son, who's in medical school, is doing just great. He doesn't really have a lot of time for his family right now, which is understandable, so we don't really hear or see from him too much, but he's doing very well. And our godson continues to be in Florida, and he is doing very well as well. So We spent the holidays. We kind of asked the family what they would like to do for the Christmas holidays. And we took everybody on a cruise to Curacao and Aruba. That was really, really fun. We had a great time together being with family. But my husband and I decided that with the kids that are in Florida so busy, and my daughter no longer in Florida but back in the Midwest, that we would probably orient ourselves more in the Midwest. So we decided to move back to our home city of St. Louis, Missouri, and that's where I am right now. And we're going to be here for a while until he is ready to retire, which is still a couple of years away. So that is what I have been doing. And all in all, we cannot complain. Our family is happy and healthy, and everyone is doing well, and I am healthy again. So what's interesting about what happened to me is that I have been noticing on Flosstube lately a lot of longtime Flosstubers are returning after sort of not filming for 6 months or a year, and they're all saying that they kind of went through the same thing that I went through. In hindsight, I had thought that my problems walking might be due to the stress and due to having crafting as a hobby. However, I do want to tell you that since that time, 2 other members of my family, my husband and my godson, also had the same experience and were not able to walk. My godson for 2 months and my husband for a month. So I don't know, maybe it was actually a virus. I have no idea. We live in a world full of wonders right now. So who can say? But I'm just happy that it's over and I have moved on, and I've been getting a lot of crafting done now. So today I'm going to go over what I have been doing in cross stitch and a little bit of applique. I haven't done very much in 2025 yet. And then I'm going to show you quilting. So it is going to be in segments. I'll let you know before I show those things in case you're only here for the cross stitch. So let me get started. I have a new microphone. I'm hoping that it sounds okay. I am in this new apartment that isn't really set up. I don't know if it's echoing. The way that I see the walls in the camera would suggest that it's lighting and color that would be good for cross stitch. It's really not. This is the ugliest shade of yellow is painted in this place, and we haven't changed it yet. I don't know if we're gonna change it yet because we are just renting here and we will be buying, so I don't know if we'll take out that kind of time. But I did find this area that I'm hoping will work for shooting floss tubes. We'll see. I have no idea. You guys tell me if the quality is okay or if it's not any good. Okay, so I have 1 fully finished cross stitch item, 2 finished cross stitch items, and then maybe 10 or so whips that either got started or I already had and got progress. So my first fully finished item is from Little Robin Designs. It is from her PDF download called Literary Love Notes 2. This year, I don't normally stitch Valentine's Day stuff. I'm just not normally into the holiday. My husband and I don't really celebrate Valentine's Day because, I married my best friend. We were hanging out and doing stuff for most of our life before we were dating, and Valentine's Day was just never something that we celebrated. But I was feeling very Valentine's Day-y this year, and I wanted to do something. So I had this chart kitted up for a while, and I was like, oh, this is the best time to start this. So I did this PDF chart has 3 double pillows on the cover of it, and I did the one that is the Oscar Wilde quote that says, "Who being loved is poor." So I really, really love this project. I don't know if it's coming across in the video correctly for color. I'm going to try. Maybe not. You might have to go to my Instagram. I will post shortly after I film to see this in terms of like what the colors look like. I'm sorry. I just like remembered that I have to take a cover picture. So I was like, oh, I should smile. So, but this is stitched on a 36 count light mauve colored color and cotton linen. And it is stitched with Sweetest Heart, which is a Weeks Dye Works or Gentle Arts floss, and it's variegated. I just love it. And then I have Lady Dot Velveteen on the back and ruching on the sides. And this is a large pillow, okay? I am a pianist. My hands are large, and it is it's bigger than my hand. So I don't know that I consider these PDFs ideal for double fillers, because I think on a 40 count, they'd still be super large. They would have to be like the largest pillows that I put into a double. But just know that if you download the PDF, I actually knew that going in with this, and counted on using it for like a prayer chair or on my bed, which is where it is right now. I have it on our bed. So I do love that. I was so happy with this finish. I can't even tell you. It came out exactly the way I wanted it to. And I'm so excited. I don't often in cross stitch have fully finishes that I have done myself. So that was really fun. I'm very sorry. I'm having some allergy issues in my throat, and so I might clear my throat a lot today. So my next finish is from the Blackbird Designs Home for the Holidays book, and it is the chart that's actually titled Home for the Holidays. It's charted as pin keep, and I wanted it to be a bit bigger, so mine is stitched on a 32 count light mocha linen, and this is what it looks like. Trying to get it up nice and close. Hopefully you are getting a good view of these snowflakes and the lettering that is in this chart. It's probably also throwing off the other colors though a bit to show you. It has beading in the berries and in the wreath around the dove's neck, and there's some lazy daisies that make up that wreath. This is, I don't know if I said it already, this is my favorite in that book. I love this, and so I wanted to have it as a little framed piece. So now you might notice that there is no Q over here on the alphabet. Q's were a letter that was often left out of antique samplers, and so I imagine that that is what they were thinking when they charted it. And that's fine. Like I get why there is room for me to put in a Q, and I think I might do that just because it's going to bother me that there's not a Q in it. So there is charting for letters given for your little initial right there, and so I'm pretty sure that they did give us a Q in that, and I will just do the same thing but larger if I decide to put the Q in. So I've been just kind of thinking about it, whether I want to do that. So that is one of my finishes. And then the other finish that I have, if you were at StitchCon last summer with me and you came over and talked to me and everything, you might have remembered that I was just absolutely bonkers over the Artsy Housewife trunk show. It was the first time I saw anything of hers stitched. And I really love, she is a master of color. I love her charts. I also like a lot of jewel tones. We tend to decorate our home with a lot of jewel tones. We kind of either have like jewel tones, which I really enjoy, Christmas going on, so all the Christmas stuff, and that's pretty much it. Pastels are hard for me, but I'm learning to work them in this year. So this was my very favorite of the things that she had to show at that trunk show, and it is the Christmas chicken. And so I finished this up after starting it at StitchCon. This is what it looks like. Everything is getting sort of a cool tone cast because I had to put a lamp on the other side of the kitchen table to lighten up this area. We really do not have good direct sunlight here. And it's unfortunately, I think, affecting the colors a little bit. Oh, I just love this so much. And I can't explain why I do. If you see it in person, you will understand how the colors just, your eyes just devour her colors the way they are. They just pop right off the fabric, and I love it. They have almost like a three-dimensional quality to them, and it's just, I don't know how she does it. They're beautiful. So that was the finish of my Christmas chicken. I am planning on finishing this in one of those, like, I think they're called bobble frames, where there's like the white like balls all like just lining around, like beads around the frame. I think that's the finish that I would like to do for that. I'm actually just going to pause you for a second and try to adjust the color or the lamp behind you real quick. Okay, I think that made things a little bit better. Let me see if this, yeah, that made things a lot better. Hopefully you can see that better. So this is stitched on dirty linen. The color is dirty linen, and all of the called for. I love it. Okay, so let's see, where should I start? So some other things that I've been stitching, I wanted to show you this freebie. I really appreciated that some of the comments from my last video were appreciating my faith-based cross-stitching. I didn't really realize how much of my cross-stitching is around my faith. I guess it shows you where my heart lies, but especially given that we started the Lenten season last week. You know, that's where my mind is because I am in the season of Lent leading up to Easter. But I wanted to show you this pattern that I got. It's a freebie, and it is, I got it right here. This is a freebie that you can find on Thread Milk Design. It doesn't come with a picture with the freebie. There may have been a picture on the website of it stitched up, but it wasn't a part of the freebie PDF download. And it looks like this. It's a freebie. It is for stitching on these bags that we can get at like Fat Quarter Shop. These mesh bags are kind of everywhere. You can get them, I think, on 1, 2, 3. You can get them through everyone. But it says Jesus, and it has like the E is the baby Jesus with a star. So I started on this. This is stitched with pearl cotton. This is how far I am. This is just a couple days stitch. It's really not difficult to get done, but I am missing 2 colors. So I'm going to have to head over to my local needle workshop to get the colors that I'm missing. But I love these bags. The first one I stitched was a red one that I got at StitchCon a couple years ago, and I stitched the little freebie StitchCon chart that was in our StitchCon passport on it. But I really, really love these. Like, I like it way better than these kind that I use that I order off of Amazon, because they spread wide at the bottom and they can sit up. So I can use them for a lot of all kinds of different needle arts. I've been using one to hold my leftover scraps and my remnants from a quilt that I'm doing, and I really enjoy them. So I want to do a lot more of these. I think I want to do the thankful one next, and that one is at Shepherd's Bush, I believe, so I'll have to put an order in for that one. So I worked on this, and this is actually currently housing what my next new start is going to be. I haven't started it yet, but I'll just show you. I'm doing a couple of things during Lent, one of them being this freebie chart from Teresa Kogut, which is He Loves Us. And it says, "Oh, how he loves us." So that's what's in that. Okay. After I completed the literary love notes stitch, I was still feeling very Valentine's Day. Like I said, that's not normal for me. And what happened was I started really regretting that I hadn't purchased the Primrose Cottage charts for their Valentine's Day Quaker, and there's like a whole set of things. So I did end up calling up Angela at Color and Cotton and asking her to get me these way after Valentine's Day. She got me the Valentine's Day Quaker, and she got me the Home Sweet Home chart. Looks like that. And she got me the Valentine's Day quilt pillow. And she is also the dyer for the called for fabric, which is blush, but it is a 32 count blush. I started stitching the Home Sweet Home chart already, and this is what that looks like. I'm trying to get the proper colors. I love it. I love all of the colors that are in this. The flosses are all Color and Cotton, or at least I am stitching with all Color and Cotton. I think there may have been a couple that were not, and I just went ahead and I converted because Color and Cotton is my very favorite floss. So the only thing that I have not liked about it is that I do not like stitching on 32 count for this, because they're not coming out to a size that I think I'm going to find useful to me for my decor and how I intend them. So I think I'm actually going to end up saving this fabric for some ornaments for the tree. And instead I'm going to go get a 36 count so that they're a little bit smaller finishes. But I do love it. And I'm kind of learning that about finishes, because I finally have a sewing machine that works for me, which I'll talk about later in the quilting segment. But now that I actually can do finishes that are not just framed, I'm learning when it says, oh, the dimensions are going to be 4.5 by 4.5 or 5.5 by 3.5, like really how that size is going to turn out. And that, you know, oh, that's not a useful size. And that's not something I really ever paid attention to before, when I mostly focused on large pieces that I plan on framing. So yeah, so that was another start, but probably going to be a restart. So I don't know if it counts, but that's one of the things I've been doing. The next one is, I started The Lord's Prayer by Leela's Studio. I know a lot of people were starting this. I had major FOMO at the beginning of the year, and I broke down and bought it. This is what it looks like. It's absolutely beautiful. I've seen so many people who have already finished it, and it is a pretty quick stitch. Lori Holt finished it and did a video on framing using it, and I really loved that video. If you are really, really wanting to get serious about, you know, how about if I learn to lace my projects by myself, but like order the custom frame and everything, but really do the labor myself. Lori recently put up a Flosstube about it. I want to say that it was like 19 or 19 and a half was the name of the video where she went through it. So this is my progress for the Lord's Prayer. I spent 2 days on this so far. This is where I've gotten. It's really weird because I'm trying not to hit this new microphone that my husband got for me. My other microphone that worked very well and actually I think sounded like me, it doesn't plug into my new iPhone, and I didn't realize that till I was shooting my last video. But if this one isn't sounding good, I will go ahead and get reorder that one as compatible. But my husband had this one on hand for some remote podcast interviews he did for people. So yeah, that's how far I am. And I'm doing this with the Auvera Soie 103 Silks. And okay, so about these. Okay, so there's a couple things. This is my first time stitching with these. I love Hands Across the Sea samplers, and frequently in the past when there's been an exclusive, I've gone ahead and ordered that exclusive charted up so that I could stitch it exactly the way, so it would look exactly the way it was being shown in the finish. And so I have several projects and a lot of Averswa silk, the 103s in my collection, but never really have started any of those projects yet. They just haven't called to me. So this called for these, and I went ahead and ordered them, and I'm stitching it on 40 count, and this is a 40 count, let me think. Oh yeah, this is 40 count aged paper by Color and Cotton. It is my very favorite, it's one of my very favorite colors by Color and Cotton. And I love it. But 40 count seems to be a little bit wide of a weave for Averswa 103s. So I haven't enjoyed working with it. I also have found that they're kind of like, I already know that I don't like working with spools. They slow you down. I'm not into anything that slows me down from refilling my needle and stitching again. So I really don't like the clumsiness of unrolling a length and then wrapping it back up and cutting it and all that. But then they're also kind of stiff. They get like really, really long, and they catch on any little bit of dry skin that you have, or roughness on your sleeve or something. And so while you're stitching, they pull out of the needle all the time. So I am constantly rethreading my needle. I mean, I'm not kidding, like every 20 stitches or something, I am having to rethread a needle. So that part's been really frustrating. I'm going to finish it with these, but I'm going to end up having to purchase all new silks for my other samplers that I had gone ahead and purchased it for, because I just don't enjoy it. And besides that, it does look very thin on the fabric. It looks sort of prim, like a more primitive quality. You're going to see a very defined X and fabric through the stitch using Averswa 103 on 40 count. So just know that. I'll finish it up for that project though. So then, let me get this chart put away properly. What else can I talk about while I'm doing this? Well, I have a gorgeous bouquet of flowers sitting right here that you can't see, because my husband and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary on Saturday. That was very exciting. We kind of sat out to dinner together. We did a nice romantic dinner, looking a little shell-shocked at each other. That we can't believe it's already been 25 years. We can't believe we've already raised our kids and they're out of the house. We can't believe how fast it came and went. It was really, really interesting. So it's really hard to believe that this is where we are already. It's been wonderful, and maybe that's why it's been fast. Okay, so this one is cookies, or this is sugar cookies by the Cricut Collection. It's another Christmas stitch. It's super cute. I started this actually a couple of Christmases ago, and then I think I sort of forgot that I was doing it. So I pulled it out when I found it in my moving, and it is on 28 count antique white linen, and it is a Witchelt linen. And oh my goodness, this is so wrinkled. I'm really sorry. This is where I am. I love like the checkerboard that is the letters. It's awesome. There's some backstitch still missing, like Santa's eye and all of that, but this is really, really fun. I'm doing it with all of the called for flosses, which are over dyes, I believe. I think, let me look in this bag real quick. I could be, let's see, I use Annie's Keepers in case you're wondering to hold my flosses. No, these are all DMC. They're all DMC and they're beautiful. Oh my goodness, they're beautiful. So that's where I am with that. I think I mentioned in my WIP parade that I am getting kind of tired of some of the patterns that I've just had lingering for a really long time. So I'm going to work really hard on, you know, things that are like this size and everything to just hurry up and get them finished this year. This is a Busilla kit, a little kit that I had in my collection called The Lord is My Shepherd. It looks like this. Super cute. Oh my goodness. It's so adorbs. I love it. And I am almost finished with this one. I still have the back stitch and the wording to do. I am currently filling in the sheep. And his body, it's really hard because I'm trying to see what I'm showing you. His body is a lot of beiges and a cruise basically in white to show off like curls in his fur. I don't know if I'm getting close enough for you guys to see that, but and so it's a little bit frustrating just to see. It's hard to see a little bit, but I love it. I'm using all of the kit fabric and floss, which is I think a 16 count Aida, and I love it. It's so adorable. I'm going to make a little pillow out of it. So hopefully I'll finish that one up shortly as well. Okay, and then let's see. I want to show you next. This one is Eliza Hills. This is a sampler that I ordered from the attic years ago, and then realized I wasn't going to be able to start it because I couldn't see 40 count back then. I didn't have like my setup all figured out. So this is stitched on espresso by Fiber on a Whim with all, oh, and it's not all called for colors. It is a Belle Soie silk conversion that Jean Lee put together for me. And this is where I am in this. I'm sorry. I need to put up a cover picture for you to see it. And this is where I am. So I've gotten, you know, some of the motifs done. And I started some of the wording. It's not a very large sampler at all, as you can see. I love the border. The strawberry border was really, really fun. I know that with the lighting, you're probably having trouble seeing this, especially then because like I think it's messing up like the wrinkles too. So I will try to work everything out so that it's better every time I film. The colors in this are kind of like questionable. I love the finished product, so I'm just trusting the process. There's a couple of flosses that are practically the same color, and so you can't even really like fussy cut the variegation to try to make them be like one be the darker and the other be the lighter. But you know, Jean kitted it up for me, and so I trust that it's great. This is among her 100 best samplers of all time list, and I'm looking forward to the finished product. So there's that. Okay, I pulled out an old WIP called Awesome Myth by Stitchrovia. I'm stitching this for my daughter. She is probably not even interested in it. It looks like this. It says, "Be so awesome, people think you're a myth." We started stitching it because it took us probably literally 20 years of my daughter's life to convince her that narwhals are real. So this is on a Crystal Bashful by Picture This Plus, which is a light pink, and you probably can't see, and it has a light opalescent in it. This is where I am in it, and I'm going to tell you why I'm upset with this piece. I'm really mad at it, and I haven't finished it, even though there's just a couple of stitches of like starlight. And it is because this gave DMC as well as anchor floss conversions for stitching it. And this was back, if you'll remember, I'm doing Teresa Kogut 9111, Psalm 9111. And when I kitted this one up, it was the same time I kitted up that one. And I was giving anchor floss a shot, which I now know I dislike. The problem with me having done so is that the original Charted in DMC actually had like 3 different colors of that sparkly DMC floss. That's sort of like a substitute for Kreinig. And the conversion does not. And in fact, it has random anchor numbers that are for colors that don't really go in this pattern, but I was mindlessly stitching away and ended up with them. It's like this lime green color that comes in, and like 2 other colors. I think one of them is an orange. And if you were looking at this in real life, I don't like the way it looks, and those colors obviously clash with everything else going on in the pattern. And so I stood back and looked at it and then went through my chart like a mad person trying to understand what was going on, and realized that it is not a color conversion, accurate color conversion at all. So I will have to pick all of it out. And also, I do think that the chart would benefit from those glitter flosses. So I've decided it's important enough for me to do, but it is on timeout like currently because I only figured this out like 3 weeks ago. So I'm going to pick it up when I feel like I can face going through all that confetti stitching and picking out all the bad stitches. So that's where I am with that one. Not a fun place to be with a project. I know you all understand. Okay, so now, let's see. This is one of my new starts. This is, let me see if I have the cover of it from my working copy. I do not. So this is a piece called Peaceful Paradise. It's by Midsummer Night Designs. So I started stitching on this one because, as many of you know, we lost Jean Lee in January of this year. She was the proprietor of the Attic, and I always wanted to start Peaceful Paradise, and I didn't. I don't know. I think it kind of loomed large in my mind because I knew that I wanted to start it, but I wanted to do it on a high count fabric, and I needed to get that sorted in my life. So I finally did. And when Jean passed away, it really brought to mind that I needed to get started on this because I received this chart as a gift from her. So I started it. I only was able to put in so far like a day. So I'm not very far in it. I am stitching this on, oh my goodness, let me find that out because anybody who has, it's the perfect fabric. So this is Coloring Cotton 40 count Ophelia, and it's all I have is the top border on the left side of the chart. So that's as far as I got on that one. When Jean gave me her chart, she was kitting up something else for me, and I had asked about Peaceful Paradise. I was new to cross stitch and did not understand that Midsummer Night Designs was no longer like available or being made, and she was friends with that designer, and that designer, she went into a long story, but the designer, the Attic no longer has the ability to sell those charts. They're gone. The computer that had them stored in it is dead, like it's gone. And so I had voiced my dismay about it, but I didn't, I was like, oh, I'll move on or whatever. But when I received my order from Jean, she had actually tucked her personal copy in for me, so I thought that was really sweet of her. And then this one is a new start as well because I was feeling springy. I don't normally feel springy because I'm not like a pastel color person, but I started watching a new Flosstuber, and I think her name is the Seashore Stitcher. She's really, really neat lady, and I encourage you to go watch her channel. And she likes to do Riolis kits, and I like to collect a lot of Riolis kits, and I thought, oh, I should start a Riolis kit. So one of the ones that she was stitching now, which I thought was just perfect to try to grow my spring cross stitch displays, is this pattern called Funny Rabbits. I think it's really adorable, and I think it's good for, you know, the season of Lent that I am mentally in and everything, so in preparation for Easter. So I'm stitching it with all of the called for flosses and the Aida, which I really enjoy. Riolis makes a very nice Aida. It's interesting. It's very soft. It has a great drape. I've learned the word drape. It has a great drape. I love it. So here's where I am right now. I've got some ears and some background foliage. So you can see I have got this, not his whole head, but this part, just that. So that's where I got. I love it. This has been such a fun experience. I don't know if you watch some other Flosstubers who have stitched Riolis. Riolis has some cotton kits and some wool and acrylic kits. I know that people who are strictly cross stitchers sometimes don't like working with the wool and acrylic threads. I came to cross stitch through needlepoint, and wool and acrylic, or not wool, but wool blends are very common. It's what I stitched with for decades before I was stitching with cotton. So it doesn't bother me to use it at all. One thing that I like about Riolis kits, I'm finding, is that they're kind of like a Dimensions light. They change like whether you're using 1 or 2 strands of thread, and they also change not just whether it's like half stitches or whole stitches, but they tell you which direction they want the half stitches to go. So they change it on you to create a lot of texture and dimension without it having the level of dimension that a Dimensions cross stitch has, where sometimes you have 4 strands of floss and you're doing, you know, and they're blended and they're this and they're that. It's not like that. It's just like a little like diet version of dimension stitching. I really, really enjoy it. So that's been really fun. And let me see if I have, I think that's it. So that's it for the cross stitch that I've done recently. The 2 finishes and the 1 fully finish included. So for applique, I only have one thing to show, which I am partially through. I ordered a kit off of Sue Spargo for a needle book made by Yazzie. So Yazzie is a brand of organizer maker, which you can find on their own website or you can find on Amazon, and it's used a lot by quilters for organizing quilt supplies. And they also made a nice needle book, or it's a travel pouch. Really, you can use it for anything. I mean, you can use any organizer for anything you want, right? I put needles inside of it. And it folds up like a wallet, like this. Okay, so the green wallet is the product I was sent, and then this applique is the applique that I'm adding, and it's the first time that I'm doing Sue Spargo applique. I've done the portion of cutting out the wool and attaching the wool and the satin ribbon. And I've started doing some of the embroidery stitches. I've started doing the ones that go around these inner leaf and outer leaf. That's it. And I don't think I've finished these 2 yet. And then I've done none of the embroidery that goes on this flower yet. I ordered Sue Spargo's book for her embroidery stitch, her embroidery stitch guide, which there are so many guides for fancy stitches and embroidery stitches and, in cross stitch and in needlepoint. There's a million people who put out, how to do a bargello, how to do 10 stitch, how to do basket weave. There's so many. So you can just get whatever guide you enjoy and have success doing things. Her instructions recommended using the book that she created, because in the instructions, when she tells you to do a decorative stitch in a certain place, like say around this orange circle, she tells you what page the stitch is on in her book. So she references it that way so that you get a visual. And then in her book, she actually has like photographs of what it should look like if done correctly, which I thought was really, really handy. The other thing that I really like about her instructions is that she takes into account the size of the different flosses that you're using at the time and tells you her preferred needle for them. That's really important because a lot of them you are wrapping the thread around the needle, and that determines the outcome of the size of the stitch. So for example, if you were doing a French knot on a big fat needle, your French knot would end up being a really, really large knot size, versus on a tiny skinny needle, a French knot would be really, really like a pinpoint, So she is really, really thorough and great with her instructions so that everything turns out the way that you expect, but you do reference her stitch book to do it. And I have really enjoyed it, but I got to points where I knew that I needed to go out and buy a couple new other needle sizes that I needed to get things to go right, and so I put it away. They're supposed to be here today. I had to get them on Amazon, so they're supposed to come today, and then I'll finish that up. So right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause, and I'm going to go get my quilty things to show you what I've been doing with quilting. I'll be right back. Okay, so I am a person who has tried multiple times throughout my adult life to quilt. I don't have anybody in my family who ever quilted, and I never saw quilting going on at home or behind the scenes. So I didn't know anything about it, but I love quilts, and creating quilts was a huge goal of mine for a very long time. So I finally seemed to crack the code on what works for me and overcomes my problems with quilting, so that I'm able to now do it, and I'm really enjoying it. But I did want to have an honest discussion with people who might be out there who also are trying to understand how to do quilting. And if you're otherwise crafty and pretty successful with it, you probably get a little frustrated if you try to do sewing or quilting and you can't figure out why it's not working for you, because plenty of your friends can do it just fine, and you can see how many other people are enjoying it, and that it's really not supposed to be as difficult as it seemed to be for me doing it. And so I want to tell you the honest truth about how I was able to become a quilter and be successful at it. I sprang for a really expensive sewing machine. That's what I did. It seemed, as I watched more and more videos about different machines and machine makers and quilters out there, I started looking up Quiltitubes, which I had never really watched before. I watched hours and hours over probably 6 months about quilting. And it seemed as though we had come to a point in technology where the things that were tripping me up about my sewing machine and were always breaking or always not set the right way, or I was always forgetting to do before starting the stitching part, and the things that were ruining my projects and my efforts were no longer the case with modern sewing machines. Digital machines auto set tension. They automatically can tell you what stitch you should be using, or if a stitch is even a quilt stitch, or is it a straight, or is it just for a regular sewing. And it can really take all of the pain out of the machine aspect of it, which is what I was struggling with. So I did, in fact, buy a Bernina quilting sewing machine. I've really enjoyed it. It has a large display on it, and anytime I turn it on or I'm trying to set up stitch length or width or select the kind of stitch or whatever, there's always a little question mark that I can push, and it gives me a whole tutorial on, if you're selecting this, this is probably what you're trying to do or what it would be used for. And if you're going to use it, you might want to have it set for this or set for that. And it gives a little tutorial every single time to make sure that I know what I'm selecting on the machine and I know what needle I've put in and I understand what's gone on. And it will even save those per project for me, so I don't have to do it every single time I turn my machine on. And then also it has a DC motor, which is a fabulous motor to have, that stitches evenly throughout the entire stitching process, no matter how thick of layers you're stitching through. And I just found that going ahead and investing in the pricier machine is really what allowed me to get down to just the stitching and piecing part and the design part and the layout and all of the fun things that I really wanted to dive into. So if you're having trouble, I told the lady at my local quilt store, I really wish someone had just told young me, wait until you can afford to buy a much better machine than off-the-shelf machines, because it has made all the difference. And I've spent so many years feeling like really just inferiorly defeated by quilting, and now I'm really enjoying it. So that's just my little pro tip for quilting, if it's something that you're interested in getting into. So now, quilting is just as addictive for collectors as cross stitches. So I have spent a lot of time over the years saving up quilt kits that I always dreamed of doing. So I do have a nice library of quilt kits. However, I had noticed from like 911 Stitcher and some other Flosstubers who were getting into quilting that they really recommended block of the month clubs for quilting as a way to get started, because you're not overwhelmed with the entire quilt project being laid out in front of you all at once, all the fabric, all the stuff, everything piled up looking like a monumental task. And so I did that, and I chose to start quilting with the Dragon Fruit Block of the Month from the Fat Quarter Shop. And this is a Tula Pink quilt. I believe that this is basically, I don't have my glasses on, going to be like a lap quilt size, maybe lap quilt to twin. It's not overly large. But it uses all Tula Pink fabrics, and when all of the blocks are put together, they will make this large dragon fruit blossom. So I really like this because it really, like, ooh, I love the colors and I love Tula Pink fabric. I couldn't even believe that I was going to be like working with Tula Pink fabric. So I was super excited to get started on this. Now, when I do a stitch along and cross stitch, or even now with quilting, I found I always kind of let everyone else get started a little in advance of me, because if there's any mistakes or errors, other people will find them out first and post them in Facebook groups, so I will know, and then I'm not the one who's making the mistake first and ruining my project. So that's been how I approached my block of the month. Now I'm doing 2 block of the month quilts. This is the first one. So the first 2 months, is it 2 months? Yes, the first 2 months I think these are the first 2 months I have completed. They send you just the fabric that you need with the cutting instructions, and for just those colors for that part of the project. Okay, so that's a great way to do things. And this was my first completed block, which took 2 months. So here is my first one. And you can see the yummy Tula fabrics that are in here. They're all very like tropical yummy goodness. I love this so much. So if I recall correctly, we've got some log cabins squares in here and some courthouse steps, and I think this is around the square. I can't remember the name. Hold on just a minute, I'll tell you. I can look in here. I know there's log cabin, and then this is called, it's called the lemon block. This is called square in a square. So this is a square in the square block. Okay, so I put together for month 1 half of these blocks. I made the individual little block, and then the next month I made the other half of the individual little blocks and sewed everything together into this, and this is considered 1 unit of the quilt block, the final quilt block. My measurements came out absolutely perfect for everything. I think that my seams have come out pretty well where they're meeting. They look really, really nice to me. And I actually made 4 of these. So I have 4 totally identical blocks already completed, and they make up the outer corners of here and here and here and here. So that's how far I've gotten. Now I ordered these and these block of the month, the 2 block of the months that I have, both started in the winter of 2024. They started shipping them then, and I was not in town because I was traveling with my family for the holidays. So, and then I didn't get started till January. So I am like 2 months behind in doing any stitching. I'm actually, I think even the 2 blocks of the month send a lot of fabric. Like, it's a lot of fabric, but it's not. They send several, like my other block of the month sends 2 blocks worth in 1 month period. So, you know, I'm behind blocks wise with the group, but that's okay because a lot of people will be ordering block of the month and just be piling those boxes up, and they might not get to them for like a couple of years. Like, it's just, quilting people are just as patient between the collection period and when they actually start making the quilt part. So, that's been, you know, fun to get to know that about the community in quilting. This is a foundation paper piece quilt, which I really enjoy. You use papers that have the patterns for each of these individual blocks, and you sew through the paper and the fabric that you've cut to ensure that your cuts are precise. And I think foundation paper piecing is just amazing. It's incredibly fun because, you know, you might have to do like your very first little block slow, and then you're just whipping through all the others, and you get in like your Zen mode, and you're like, oh, I'm a quilter. It's so awesome. So it's been really fun. So that's the dragon fruit block of the month. I believe that is sold out at Fat Quarter Shop right now, but you can find other block of the months that they do that are just, they're all so gorgeous and fun. So I would, you know, really like consider the block of the month idea as your first project. Makes sense. You know, if you're only receiving a block or 2 a month and you like actually like find out that you're going to crash and burn on this project and you can't deal with this right now, or quilting is just not for you right now, you can stop. And so you're not out the expense of a whole quilt if it's not working out for you. A really good thing about the Fat Quarter Shop, which I came to appreciate when I was working on the other bone that I've been working on that I'm going to tell you about, is that Kimberly sends you so much fabric that you do not need to be just out of your mind crazy about your cutting and whether or not you're going to mess up and destroy your whole quilt, because she sends you so much extra fabric every month. You could probably make the block fully like 2 times. So there's like twice as much fabric as you need in case you get confused or cut something the wrong way or realize that you stitched it wrong, or if your machine like destroys a piece of fabric, you know, eats it all up. So I really, really love that the Fat Quarter Shop is so great about how much fabric they're sending us. Okay, the other block of the month that I'm participating in is a quilt that I am doing along with a quilt shop called Duckadilly. And it is a quilt that is made entirely of Liberty Tanalon cotton, and it is called the Fairy Tale Forest. And it looks like this. This is a really large quilt. It's 90 by 90 inches. And it is an assortment, a rainbow wash of little forest trees that are triangles, all of Liberty fabrics, and then a little cottage in the middle of the woods. And oh my gosh, I love this. Like, this will probably end up being one of my very favorite quilts of all time. And I'm so excited that it's something that I'm able to do right off the bat. So this is another block of the month. Tanalon is fabric that's made with cotton from Tana in Egypt. It is cotton that is grown with the longest fiber. I think it's got the longest fiber of any cotton grown like on earth anywhere. And because the fiber is so long, it basically feels like silk. It's very thin like silk, but strong like silk. And it is a little bit costlier. But Liberty London makes amazing prints and just gorgeous saturation of color that I really love about this quilt. And so in this quilt, I'm getting hundreds and hundreds of prints that are Liberty London. So I'm really getting a nice sampler variety of their fabrics. And so that was really exciting for me because I knew I wanted to do something with Liberty, and I only knew their pics of their fabrics online. I didn't know like what they felt like when you touched them or how beautiful the colors would really be in real life. And they are amazing. I'm so spoiled. I think Liberty has like possibly ruined me on other on other fabrics for a little while. I do have other fabrics that I collect that I like, but so I did block 1 and block 2 of this boom. So I can show you this up closer so you can see the variety of prints that are Liberty London that I'm getting to play with and cut to do this quilt. That's one side, and then here's another side. You can see I hope you can see that. Now my inner corners are not as perfect on this one. I've worked really, really hard to get them as perfect as I could, but not every single meeting here was perfect. You can't tell. Like, you totally can't tell. Like, only I could tell. But because, I'm being a perfectionist in my quilting game. So I can tell, nobody else can tell. Unless I were to point it out for them to look for. So that was block 1. And then I completed block 2. Block 2 starts to get a little bit more roony and browns away from the darker midnight colors. Okay, so you can see what these fabrics look like. I love the little Scotty dog. There's several in this block of the month that Erin over at Duckadilly, I think Erin is the name of the owner, reserved. They are out of print fabrics, but she reserved them for this quilt. I know that because the very, very, very first block when I was working on it, the very, very first fabric I had to use, which was this beautiful one right here. The piece that she sent me, I cut wrong and destroyed and had to call her and ask her to send me another one. So, I made a mistake right off the bat when I was working on it. Now this is another foundation paper pieced quilt. I left the papers on. This is what the papers look like that you are sewing through. So for this one, I decided to leave the papers on and see if I noticed any difference. In the quilting community, some people like to leave the papers on until the end because they feel like it keeps the quilt square until then. And some people take them off. I took them off on my Fat Quarter Shop dragon fruit. But I'm leaving them on for the Duckadilly, partially because this is a huge quilt, so it will have a lot of weight once they're attached, and maybe it will throw off the squareness of the quilt. So that's part of it. The Duckadilly, I think, is an 18-month block of the month. It has 25 total blocks. That's 25 of these that are this size to make up the whole forest, the whole rainbow forest. And so I am only up in this part. I've only done this to here. That's all I've done. And that took quite a bit of time. So this is foundation paper pieced. Doing triangles was a bit more challenging than doing rectangular strips for paper piecing and square strips like for this, because when you are doing foundation paper piecing, you have to keep in mind the orientation of your fabric on the shape, because you're shaping the back side of your quilt. That's where you're sewing the back side from the back side of your quilt. And so you're going to flip it. You're going to flip the fabric. The fabric's going to flip over. And it's not, the mirror image is not the same as with a square or rectangle. It's easy to visualize the mirror image of something. It's not as easy with triangles. I hope that I said that right in a way that makes sense. So that's all that I'm going to show you for quilting today, because I know not everybody is here for the quilting, and I do have some haul to show you. But I hope that you've enjoyed seeing it, and that if you are feeling like you want to get into quilting, that you will appreciate my honest take on it. I don't know that I'm sewing any differently than I ever sewed before. I think I just have a better machine. And the fact of it is, you can take a lot of the headache out of it for yourself if you are willing to kind of buy a machine that will have more features that will help you out. And I know that that's really hard, because if you've tried and you're having trouble sewing, you're like, why would I throw more good money after bad if I've tried on a $200 machine and it hasn't worked, or I've tried on one that was a hand-me-down that was good for its time. The other thing that I learned with my machine is how to really properly take care of it. And when I consider that I purchased so many pre-owned machines before, I think it's probably not likely very many people do stay up with the type of routine maintenance that a machine really needs to keep functioning well over the years. And then, like everything else, machines will deteriorate just sitting around, not being used over time. So I think all of those things kind of contributed to the problems that I personally was having enjoying sewing. So I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so I'm going to pause you and go get my haul. It's not that much. I just wanted to show you a couple things in case you were interested in what I've been buying this year. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through some haul. I've been really good about being mindful about haul this year, because for me, collecting is my sort of thing that I'm always trying to control a little bit. And so for me also, for Lent, my fasting is fasting from investments and collecting. And it's not just things in my crafts. I have a collective personality, I like to collect. So for me, my fasting is focused very much on purchases. So you're going to probably not see a ton of haul from me during the spring. But these are the things that I've been purchasing in 2025. So since January and everything, but it's so minimal compared to what I normally do that I really hope you all will be proud of me. So one of the things that I wanted to show you was, this was a fabric pack from Primrose Cottage that goes with the Valentine cross stitches for this year that I showed you. And the reason I wanted to show you this is because, like I told you, I got into wanting those charts way after Valentine's Day. And by the time I went on to Primrose Cottage to look at their finishing sets, the most popular ones were sold out. The Quilty Pillow and the Quaker one were sold out. And this was the finishing pack it was just finishing pack, general. Okay, I don't even think it was labeled as specifically for the Quaker and specifically for the Home Sweet Home pillow and specifically for the quilt pillow. It was just finishing pack. And the truth is, there's more in this than I would ever need for those three finishes to finish them any way I wanted to. And so I think a lot of people might say, if they've never shopped with Primrose Cottage, oh, the Quaker finishing pack is gone. Oh, maybe I won't stitch it. I really needed that. Or, I got to go find something that's equivalent. This pack was, I think, less price than all of the other ones, but actually has like more fabric. It's just the fabric and the rickrack trim. And so it gives you plenty for any of them. It just isn't assigned to one of the charts. And they had tons of this left. I also found out after I bought this that Angela over at Color and Cotton also carries the finishing packs for the Primrose Cottage Quakers. So you can get them there if you want to look. Additionally, it said on the website, hold on just a minute, I'm pulling stuff out, that the pin set for the pin cushions was sold out. But it does tell you what the pins come from, and they were pins that were taken from 2 different sets that Just Another Button Company always carries. And so I just bought those separately. And so, because I want to say like the pink heart from here was used, and then this pink heart was used in it, and then the envelope was used, and then like the little flower were used. But you can still get the same pins, and actually if you're making 3 pin cushions, you probably need more pins. So I just bought those as separate things from Just Another Button Company. I also started watching Red Velvet Quilts. I think that's the new Flosstube. She's new. I can't remember her name. She's really wonderful to watch, and she's a wealth of information and knowledge. And she was showing how you can make your own project bags that have that quilted patchwork pattern simply using a template from the Three Sisters company, which you just iron on your pre-cut charm packs, your 2-inch pre-cut charm packs onto. So I ordered a couple. I ordered Flower Power, which is one of my favorite fabric collections. I ordered it from Fat Quarter Shop. They used to have a quilt for if you had, the whole fabric collection you could make it with. I only discovered the fabric collection long after they were no longer making this fabric. But I was very excited that they still have charm packs, and so I can make myself a project bag. I also got some of the Happy Charms from Be In My Bonnet. I got the ball jar Happy Charm of that. I got Sunbonnet Sue. Love that. I got this Bluebird. I have no idea if these were made to coordinate with particular Lori Holt projects or anything. I just saw them and liked them. And then this one is not from Lori Holt, but I did order at Fat Quarter Shop. My friend Brenda had shown this. It's a library catalog and chair, which I adored it. She showed it on her Flosstube, and I was like, oh, and I went running over and purchased it. So I love that. Okay, so I got those. Let's see. I purchased Sally Spencer from the Colorado Cross Stitcher, who has started redoing the Birds of a Feather patterns. I purchased Crochet to Go-Go Winter. I purchased Dr. Raven. I think this is one of the Stacey Nash Animal Crackers. I think that's awesome, and I really wish that my son, who's in medical school, knew like anything about like cross stitch or cared about it at all, because it's so awesome for like plague doctor stuff. So I think it's cute. Then there is another Flosstuber who is new to me that I've really enjoyed. Her name is Rosanna, and she goes by Bright and Dusty in Flosstube. She's new to the Flosstube community, relatively new to the Flosstube community. I think she's been making videos for like a couple of months. And one of the things that I really like about watching her is that she has been collecting cross stitch for a long time, even before she was stitching it herself. And she saves a lot of things at Goodwill. And one of the things that she saved was a stitch of this Country Christmas Sampler 2 by Jeremiah Junction. Looks like this. and the stitched up version that she showed is so adorable. There's a couple elements in this chart that are timeless, and there are some that might date it a little bit. So I haven't decided if I'll tweak a couple of things or not, or if I'll just leave it exactly the way it is, because I actually quite like it. I'm not planning on stitching the goose. I feel like that would feel very dated if I did that part, but I really, really loved the stitched up of that. So I got that. I found that on the used market. It was not costly. It was just I could only find one seller who had it, but I'm sure it comes up. And as long as I was buying that one, they the same seller also had We Gather Together. And this one has quilty stuff in it. And so I absolutely had to get this one. And I love this. So there's quilt on the wall. There's a little quilt hanging off the windowsill. There's quilts here on the kitchen stuff. I love all of the elements in this. So yeah, there's a couple things that I might tweak or take out just to make it feel a little bit more modern. But I really do love these pretty much the way they are. Okay, let's see. Next, I'm just kind of going with what's in the bin so that I don't get, we might come back to more cross-stitch stuff. I don't know. I ended up picking up, you didn't see any Bucilla in this video, but I do Bucilla kits as well. I love doing felt crafts. And I picked up Boo Buddies, which are Halloween ornaments of really adorable ghosts. I just, oh my goodness, they're so cute. I love those. So those are ornaments, love them. I also picked up the floral sugar skulls for Halloween, these ornaments. I really like these because if I'm not mistaken, when you see these packs that only have 4 versus the 6, these are slightly larger ornaments. At least that's been my experience when I stitch ornament sets that have only 4 on the front. They're a little bit chunkier, and I really like the variation in sizes in my decorating for the holidays. So these are sugar skulls. And then I picked up Winter Days stocking. This has been out for quite a while. I was actually, it's got, you can see the deer in the mailbox with the bird in the house. I have been, it's one of those stockings that I've been watching for a really long time, and then I started to, and I loved it, and I was like, oh, I'll stitch that one. And I started to notice that a lot of people were talking about it being sold out or not being able to find it anymore, and I started to worry that it might be coming to the end of its time. I don't know if it is, but I thought it might be. There are a lot of Bucilla stocking kits. Okay, there's a ton of them. And some of them, they run for like 5 years. They'll just keep restocking. Some of them are sold out after like a 10-month period. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to how Plaid is deciding that. So I thought, oh, I'll just get that while I can. So I got that one. Okay. One of the Flosstubers I love to watch is Lala D Stitches, and is it Lala D who showed me this? I think it was. I know for sure Pumpkin Hollow Quilts also showed it on her Flosstube. She has a Halloween quilt called Hocus Pocusville, and I believe that Lala D Stitches is doing another quilt by this designer that has more to do with like herbs and gardening, but I could be misremembering that. So, but they are quilts that are made by Crabapple Hill, who is a designer who creates embroidery and then converts it. You can either make a wall hanging out of it or make quilts out of it. But she's really, really unique in that you trace her patterns onto your fabric using like a micro tip pen, those permanent pens, and then you use crayons or colored pencils and a water brush to create an image that is watercolor onto the fabric. So you have the embroidery stitches creating the outline of the picture, and then you're going in and you're sort of painting with your water brush over these colored pencils the image. I don't know if you can see that very well. I will go ahead and put a cover photo up of this quilt on the screen. It might help you to understand what's going on. So I saw that there was this method of doing fiber arts recently, like in January, okay? And so just by chance, I was like, I want to go buy a set of those, because to make the whole quilt here, you've got to have the actual papers with the picture that you're tracing with a light box onto your fabric, right? So like this quilt looks like this all together. It has a banner that says "Deck the Halls" at the top, and then at the bottom, "See the Blazing Yule." Like, so this will go around the edges of the quilt. And then like this is one of the quilt blocks. So it's this sparkly snowman. And then this is another one. This is a little, not a globe, but terrarium type Christmas scene is another one of the blocks. And then this little deer and this little tablescape, little ornamentation thing are two of the little blocks. And then here's like more decor, more of the village. And then there's one that's a stocking. And then there's the center motif, which is a whole Christmas village that like goes from like the ground all the way up the center tree. Okay, so you need like all of these to make the quilt. Well, when I logged in at the end of February to look at investing in something like this to see if I liked it, I discovered that in the beginning of the year, this designer announced that she's retiring. And before I had logged in to her website, she had already put everything she owned on sale and had sold out of everything, except for some of her patterns for other projects that were later in her designing life that she had made in PDF form. So if you're interested in perusing Crab Up a Hill, you can go to her website and everything is 75% off. So you can get the PDF download patterns that she's done for $2 a piece, which I did do for some of the ones that I thought, anything that had ever entered my mind I might be interested in doing, I went ahead and purchased, because this is the nature of our craft. Things exist and then they don't anymore because somebody leaves the designing world or passes away or something like this. So I did that, and then I hunted down a quilt store that actually had physical copies of this left. I actually saw it in my own personal local quilt shop the day before. That's what had gotten me to go to the website and see about what it would cost me to download these or to purchase these. And my quilt shop did not have it. They just had the sample on the wall and were advertising that you could purchase the patterns through them, but they didn't even know that she was no longer going to be selling these. So I found this Christmas one, because Christmas has my heart, in Canada, and was able to ship it down very reasonably, and I had it right away. I also did order the Hocus Pocus fill from a shop on Etsy. It's supposed to come today, though I don't have it yet. Those were the two main quilts of hers that I really wanted to make sure I did. I think that there's going to be a lot of people doing resale on those in the future. So I'm sure you'll still be able to find them to pick them up if you become interested in that. Then, as I said, I do watch Lala D Stitches, and watching her has been great for me because she is the one who is expanding my mind to the possibilities of really loving a cover photo or a quilt, but planning it with your own fabric choices. So it doesn't necessarily have to look exactly like what the designer did. And there's like some safety in liking something the way a designer did it or put something together. But she uses batiks and other fabric from her stash that she's had for years to do quilts, and they look just amazing. And I've never really looked at batiks and thought very much about them because I wouldn't know what I would do with them, but she's showing me that Elizabeth Hartman patterns are really great for that. And so I'm thinking about doing an Elizabeth Hartman as sort of my next like non-block of the month quilt, where I actually like flex my creative muscles and select my own color palettes for the quilt. One of the ones that she is thinking about starting in the future, which I absolutely adore and I picked up, was the produce section. And I love this quilt. And again, because I love the way this quilt looks, I would want it to look just like this in my mind. I would be like, oh, I want it to be just like that because I love that so much. Well, these are fabrics that are no longer sold. So I think the gingham backing is still available. But other than that, the prints and the solids that were used in this quilt are not available anymore. So this will be an example of one where I will need to like wait for the designer to put out a similar type of palette or come up with the colors on my own with my own fabrics. So I'm looking forward to that. Additional cross stitch patterns. I picked up Reflet de Soie Sampler Doga. This I also saw on Colorado Cross Stitcher. This is a massive sampler. I didn't realize that, but I thought, you know, I was going through my Valentine phase. So I thought I would do smalls with some of these. It's just a thought. I thought they would look really good as independent cross stitches. This is another old out of print. This is a Leisure Arts leaflet that I saw on Bright and Dusty. And it's called All Through the House, and it is specifically for this version of the house. She picked this up at the bins or another flea market find, finished, and showed it on her channel, and I loved it. So I got that. I did pick up the Erin Elizabeth Sewing Tomato pattern, which was an exclusive to Crazy Annie's. I believe it was Crazy Annie's. I had to, in order to get this, I had to go to their Facebook page and request it. Let's see. I also picked up Key to My Heart by Brenda Gervais. And then I also picked up just some fabrics from Angela at Color and Cotton while I was over there getting other things because they looked like they were a good print size for finishing dough bowl pillows and everything. So these are just some of the fabrics. Angela has many finishing fabrics for cross stitch, you know, just of a style that would look great with cross stitch. She carries them in store, so I thought I'd show you that. And that's it for my Flosstube today. Everything's falling, sorry. That's it for my Flosstube today. Other things that are going on. I'm probably going to continue quilting, trying to get on top of my block of the month, and I'm going to work a little bit more reservedly with the cross stitch because I'm being very mindful of Lent. I'm doing very prayerful, calm stitching. So I'm going to work on the Lord's Prayer, I know. And I'm going to work on the Teresa Kogut that I showed you. And I'm just going to kind of be a little bit more reserved and less panicked about Flosstube or cross stitching, because my sort of like thing for my year is that I keep constantly coming across the scripture phrase, be still. And so it's been everywhere. I've even seen it in the background on other Flosstubers channels when I'm watching Flosstube, and I'm like, God is really sending me the message to just be still. So I am being very calm and still and just really enjoying the pace of my stitching and my creating right now, and worrying less on the volume of what I'm putting out. And I'm just enjoying it so much. I'm so happy. So I'm going to be doing those things, and I am going to Spring Fling in Tampa in the end of May. So if you're going to that retreat, I will see you there. I would love it if you came by and said hello. I'm also going to be at StitchCon. I'm a weekend beer. I love weekend bee, and so if you know that you're going to be going to StitchCon, I will be there and would love to meet you. And I'm also on the wait list for Stitch West, which I'm really excited about. I've wanted to go to Stitch West for several years, but the health issues were really debilitating and I wasn't able to. So this year I did manage to get onto the wait list at least. And I'm hoping that I have an opportunity to go to Stitch West in October. So that's another retreat opportunity I'm really looking forward to. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be there. So those are my plans for now, and I will be back soon to show you anything new that I get up to. And until I see you again, happy stitching, everybody.